But we start with team coverage of that breaking news we've been telling you about all day in Frederick. Nathan Baca is live at Fort Detrick, where the gunman was shot down.
Matthew Torres is at Riverside Tech Park, where the shooter injured 2 people. And right now, police identified that shooter as a 38-year-old Navy medic. Police telling us that he shot 2 people at that tech park before driving to Fort Detrick. That's where he was shot and subsequently killed. Now, we're still trying to learn more about the suspect's background and motive. We do know Riverside Tech Park is home to a military installation. It's about a 10-minute drive to Fort Detrick. Nathan Baca joining us live right now. Nathan, get us updated on this investigation, will you?
Well, Larry, this is the gate where police say armed Navy Corpsman Fantahun Woldesenbet tried to get onto base just minutes after police say he shot 2 other sailors just a few miles down the road. Now, Frederick police sent out a BOLO, or be on the lookout alert, this morning, and minutes later, guards here came face to face with the suspect. Here's what General Michael Talley had to explain about that.
He didn't necessarily breach security initially. He was stopped, again, based on the BOLO. And before he could be adequately searched, he was able to proceed past the gates.
A high-speed police pursuit inside the base ended in Civilian Defense Department police officers confronting Woldesenbet. General Talley said the corpsman was armed and police shot him, tried to save his life for 20 minutes before he died. General Talley would not say whether the 2 sailors shot at Riverside Tech Park on Progress Drive in Frederick had any personal or professional connection to the shooter. The 2 shooting victims worked at an overflow facility for Navy personnel working at Fort Detrick.
It so happens we had been in the process of conducting training, rehearsals, a week away from actually doing an exercise involving a similar scenario.
The FBI is taking the lead on this investigation, and neither that agency nor the military are saying anything about motive or the shooter's background. Frederick's police chief says that despite this morning's chaos, residents are safe.
Every time you turn on the news, there's something like this happening. All we can do, I mean, you know, today it happened in Frederick. A week or so ago it happened in Boulder. You know, it seems like every day.
Now, good news, we have noticed in just the past few minutes that the military police have just reopened the gate. Now, coming up at 6, you're going to hear from some people who live right next to the base about the fear that they felt whenever they just heard these alarms blare across the base. Reporting live in Frederick, Nathan Baca, WUSA 9.
You can only imagine what bystanders were dealing with as they saw this all unfold. Nathan, thank you.
So let's focus now on Fort Detrick, where this shooter was killed. It's a major employer in Frederick, really the biggest in the county. Nearly 10,000 civilians and active duty military work there. It's actually the headquarters for the Military Medical Research and Development Command. And the lab there was on the cutting edge of the fight against coronavirus. They also played crucial roles with research on Ebola, SARS, and MERS. In 2019, the CDC shut down the lab because of what they called a breach of containment, but it fully reopened last April. We move about 4 miles away to Riverside Tech Park, which is where this spasm of violence first began. That's where WUSA 9 reporter Matthew Torres is live tonight. And Matthew, we understand that there was a victim who literally ran into a building for help.
That's right, but before then, military officials still are not releasing the names or the ages of the victims involved in today's shooting. Now, we are learning that both are Navy sailors who were shot at what's being called a military institution just around the building here, where you can still see the crime scene tape. And we are learning from witnesses one of those victims ran across the street to a nearby business for help.
He was covered in blood, and he said, all he said to us was, "I've been shot. There's an active shooter, and he's still chasing me, or he's still following me."
Garrett Wagner says a young man dressed in a military uniform ran inside Nicolak Paving Stones from across the street, scrambling to get help. It was around 8:15 in the morning. Wagner believes the victim was shot in the area of his chest or neck.
We immediately just took action, jumped up. I told him to go into the bathroom and close the door.
The threat of an active shooter was enough for Wagner, an operations manager, to round up more than a dozen workers and hide them.
I brought them all into the facility. We ran to the back corner of our facility, put them in the machine room, or the maintenance shop, I'm sorry. and told them to lock the door and barricade themselves.
Wagner then went to the bathroom where the victim was laying on the ground bleeding. Other witnesses were there to offer help before police arrived in a matter of minutes. He doesn't remember if the victim said anything else, but won't forget the fear on his face.
When you see a human being in that much distress and that scared, you don't think about anything else but how to protect this person and get everything right and save his life, I guess. I don't know.
Authorities said the victim was one of 2 people shot by a suspect, an active member of the Navy later gunned down at Fort Detrick. The shooting has jolted residents who work or live nearby.
It's tragic. It's awful. I mean, you don't like to hear about that at any time, but then being right there in front of you, it's scary. It's terrible.
It's just one of those mornings where you can't take life for granted. It's a beautiful day, but even on a beautiful day, tragedies can happen.
Wagner says he's still processing what he witnessed and gets emotional when someone asks him the simple question of how are you doing?
When it's happening, you don't think about it. When it's over, you do. And then you think like, man, did I make the right decision? Was I doing it right? Should I just protect myself? But I guess as humans, we jumped right in there and we reacted.
And Wagner says when the victim mentioned he was being followed by a black SUV, witnesses then saw a vehicle of that same description drive across the business. And get this, Wagner was told by this victim that he knew the victim. They were having coffee when all of a sudden, quote, all hell broke loose. Again, authorities have not provided any more information about the victims, except that one is still in critical condition in Baltimore and the other is expected to be released from the hospital tomorrow. That's the latest here in Frederick. Matthew Torres, WUSA 9.
Just a traumatic day for so many people all the way around. Matthew, thank you.